What's up, guys? It's your boy Jarod and Gabby. We are back for another episode of the Kicks and Shit Show. Gabby, I mean, first of all, how are you? What's going on? I know you're watching a lot of NBA playoffs like me.
I am living for this basketball. Not only is it every day, all day. I mean, it's kind of annoying when I have to change the channel between games, but like if that's my biggest gripe, then we're gonna be all right, you know? I'm very happy about this though. I'm trying to mix it up. I'm wearing some neon today.
I was just gonna say, you are, it's like you're almost stepped out into becoming a very new person right now. It's almost like you know how like caterpillars evolve into butterflies, right? And all these things, like they metamorphosize, right? Like what's happening is I think there's some correlation between you as an individual making another revolution around the sun, if you're catching my drift. Like I just feel like you are rediscovering or even discovering more parts of yourself. Anything interesting happening this month? I mean, I'm just curious what's going on in your world.
I mean, I know all about all of my parts, so we'll leave that there, but I'm glad that you mentioned that, Jarod, because I have a birthday this month.
No.
Virgo season. Hey.
Except you are on the cusp of Leo and Virgo, so you're I mean, first of all, full disclosure, I don't know shit about astrology and what that means.
No, me neither.
Nothing. But like everyone's like, oh, you're this. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, okay, great. But what does being a Virgo on the cusp of Leo Virgo mean?
So being on the cusp, it's very special for the Leo Virgo cusp because we got that Mamba mentality. My man's Kobe and I have the same birthday. He's the Black Mamba. I am the Jewish Mamba. You know, self-proclaimed. But being on the cusp means you exhibit traits from both signs. And because technically my birthday is on the Virgo side, even though I'm a cusper, I exhibit more traits of a Virgo, which is passionate, organized, a little crazy, but, you know, attention to detail, particular. These are things that probably resonate when you imagine me. And then Leo is like, we're here, look at me, with this neon shirt. You know, so a little bit of both.
Well, what's so interesting about Leos, right? Like I saw this thing on social media, and it was like a meme, and it was Leos don't plan anything. I don't know what's going on. Blah blah. Like sort of very like don't worry about anything. And then it's like also Leos. It's my birthday, and like going crazy, and like it's just sort of like two sides of the same coin, right? Like and that's what's so interesting about all of this sign business. But one thing you do have in common with the Black Mamba, rest in peace, is your nickname, as was his, also self-given, right? Because you gave yourself the Jewish Mamba, he named himself the Black Mamba. So you're in good company. Good job on you.
Thank you. I think some of the best nicknames are self-proclaimed. I mean, I have strong feelings about King James.
Oh, boy.
Self-proclaimed
king. Boy.
I mean, he is a king. I got nothing but respect for LeBron's game on the courts.
I will say this, actually, before you go into your LeBron hate. Think about it. For someone being on the cover of Sports Illustrated when he was 15, I believe, 15, 16. I mean, think about it. From a basketball perspective, he's lived up to the expectations, right? I mean, think about how hard it is to do that. To be like, okay, we see you at this age, you're going to be this, and you now have to be it. How many people in the history of not just like sports, but acting, entertainment, they're going to be the next whatever. And for whatever reason, it just doesn't pan out because, newsflash, being the greatest at anything is fucking hard, right? Like really hard. And there are pitfalls and things that can trap you and screw you up along the way. But if you can say the worst thing he did was the decision, that's kind of, he's been pretty good. Like, he's lived up to expectations.
No, I agree with you. And I mean, I watched Paul Pierce's interview recently when he was talking about how LeBron, if he doesn't get a ring this year, if they lose to Dame Zala, who's playing out of his mind, and they lose first round of the playoffs, is that going to compromise his GOAT status? And here's my thing about that, right? And you know me, I will talk about all the times that LeBron has maybe slipped up and been a little less than perfect. I could talk about it till I'm blue in the face. You want to know my thoughts on Space Jam? Happy to share them. You want to know about his comment when they didn't show up to the ESPYs and said, go back to your miserable lives. I could talk about it.
See, that's not exactly what he said. Let's see.
Well, that's a conversation for another day. But my thing with Paul Pierce, and I like that Paul Pierce is polarizing and kind of talks out of his peach sometimes. I'll put it that way, 'cause we're a family show. I just think that just because someone doesn't have the amount of rings that you think they should have doesn't take away from their GOAT status, right?
No doubt.
And I think that I look at some of the great players, like Barkley doesn't have any rings.
Zero.
Patrick Ewing, one of the greatest of all time, especially on the Knicks. Zero rings. And do I think LeBron should have more than where he's at based on some of the playoff series? Absolutely. But, I mean, his numbers speak for themselves. He is 17 years in the league. So, I mean, Vince Carter in his own right, also a GOAT, because most people don't have that longevity. LeBron and I are around the same age, and let's not do any math because I don't want to give away too much here. But I could not imagine playing at that level in the NBA. I might have those Megan Thee Stallion knees, but it doesn't mean I can still dunk and have big ups like that, you know? I mean, he's just a beast on the court still, and it's amazing the things that he can do. And I have a lot of respect for athletes who, you know, when they come into the celebrity, they come into this spotlight. They have
so young, especially too. So young.
When they're young, they have this level of pressure. I mean, I look at a Tom Brady. I've always been a Tom Brady hater, but he's a GOAT. You can't deny his game. And I think as they get older, you see that they really appreciate the game. Like, I love watching Tom Brady now, not just because he's no longer in the Patriots and out of the Northeast, but because you can tell he's enjoying it and appreciates being there. It's another level. And I feel the same way even about LeBron. Like, he's relaxed a little bit. I mean, he still takes things very seriously and is strategic, but that intensity has kind of shifted a little bit to him. I mean, he looks like he's having a little bit more fun out there.
I mean, I think what I'll say is this, and I agree with a lot of the points you're making. I said it on this show, probably on other shows I've been on. To me, as someone who's watched basketball since the early '80s, so it's a long time, and someone who studies the history of the game, there is no denying that LeBron James is in that greatest player of all time conversation. Again, to me, there are only 3 basketball players that can be in the discussion of the greatest of all time. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, and LeBron James. That's it. Nobody else. I don't care.
Not even Kobe, right?
Not even Kobe. I'm sorry, he's just not. Like, so you just, those 3, it's like, you think about the Basketball Hall of Fame, right? You think about like the greatest NBA. It's like there's like different levels, right? Like VIP at the club. Those 3 dudes are at the most exclusive elite table that you can get to. That's why there's only 3 of them. Like, the rest of them dudes, all right, like Patrick Ewing's in the club. He ain't near that table, right? Like, that's just how it goes. And so, for me, that's how I view those 3. But again, what I think you're appreciating about LeBron is Tom Brady, whomever, even if you're someone who roots for someone who constantly is spoiled by them, I think what you ultimately appreciate is their craftsmanship and their commitment to the game. And like, again, I always say this, how committed to being excellent they are. Like, that is so fucking hard. Like, I don't really know how to explain to people how good it is, how difficult it is to be literally at the top 0.1% of your profession. And the thing is, most of us cannot identify with that because none of us are at the top 0.5 of because we're just not there, right? So, and that's to me what makes these high-end athletes like so incredible. It's like, damn, yes, they have a lot of natural ability, of course, because you have to have that, or you're not even in the conversation. But it's not just talent and natural ability, because everyone that plays pro sports has natural talent and ability. But the work ethic is what separates your GOATs from this level, and down the line. And it's really incredible to see that. And I've been enjoying watching the playoffs. You know, who knows what's going to happen. I mean, as we're recording this right now, the Lakers are down in their series. You know, the Clippers are tied with the Mavericks. It's like, but here's what I think. The NBA bubble is interesting because what you're seeing is the relationship, for some people anyway, of what it's like to play in a different environment, right? Look at a team like the Milwaukee Bucks, who played all season to get home court advantage. And now there is no home court advantage.
Right.
Everyone, it's the same court. Okay, you got your pumped in fans, whatever, but it's you know, there isn't that feeling from the crowd when you just went on a 15-0 run, right? There isn't like Giannis comes down, dunks on the other end, he's the block, comes down to 3. Like, you're not getting that kind of reaction, which I'm not saying it makes anybody play better, but it changes your physiological makeup chemistry-wise with whatever you're hearing and how you're feeling about things, right? So I think that is different. And what you're seeing now is certain people who maybe, because they don't have that sort of stage and like the fright. There is no fright because it's just some dudes in a gym playing ball, right? It's like what it was when they were younger back in the day. It's like Drew League without the crowd, right? You're just out there hooping. And so you see certain guys who maybe the stage of the playoffs may cause them to shrink because, oh, I don't want to get clowned or whatever. And it's like, ain't nobody there to clown you, dude. You're just balling. So I think that part to me has been fascinating.
I agree with you. And I think, I don't know if I fully agree in the sense that, it changes your game. I do think it changes your game. I mean, there's something like being at the Garden when the Knicks are on a hot streak, even if they are the worst record in the league,
which they often do of late.
Right. I'm going to let you finish. Even if they are the worst in the league, if there's a good play and the Knicks go on a run, let me tell you, I've been to multiple arenas. There is nothing like it. It changes the way that the players think. And I agree with you. I think it's fascinating watching almost like a street ball. That's why it's like watching NBA jams.
Yeah, but with no crowd.
That's what I mean. It's like watching a video game. Not only is basketball on all the time, but like that's why some of these players are having these ridiculous stats. They don't have to deal with the noise, the distractions. It is the focus on their game. I mean, sure, there's maybe some crazy virtual fans, like the crazy fan in the Philadelphia game who had the bandana over his head so he didn't want to watch. The man's a legend. I respect that. But that's why I think some of these players are shining and having an opportunity to really come forward. Like, I love that Bowen, after the Mavs game the other night, it was his first time on NBA and TNT. Like, I live for those media moments when he's like, to Shaq, I'm a little nervous. The headphones don't fit my ears.
Boban's huge.
Show. He's a legend. I mean, he's a giant legend. But a legend.
Giant human.
But I love how real and raw this bubble is. And I think it's been like a microcosm for what's going on in our country right now, off the court, too. Just watching this ecosystem.
Yeah.
I think the NBA, like I said, the NBA has done a great job of putting this together. Mm-hmm. There's been 0 COVID cases. It's almost like it doesn't exist.
They have not had a player test positive since mid-July.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's very admirable.
I mean, it's incredible. Like, again, I was skeptical of the bubble. Like, I was just like, I don't know, man. How are you going to police this? Like, kudos to Adam Silver and Michelle Roberts. Like, they did a wonderful job. And remember, teams have left because they didn't make the playoffs, and as they continue to teams get knocked out, less and less people are going to be there. So this works. So by the way, all you other leagues trying to figure out what to do, maybe you want to take some notes. I don't know. Just going to put that out there. But we will be back because we're going to get into footwear, of course, but a specific type of footwear. So stay tuned. What's up, guys? We are back. And Gabby, I want to talk about, and we are going to discuss, a particular type of footwear. Slides.
Ooh.
It is summertime, so slides tend to get worn a little bit more, but slides are an all year round kind of thing. Slides are so fascinating, and I have my own sort of like journey through the slide, like, well, you're younger, right? When you play sports, and slides are in your sport bag, and after your practice or your game, you're always taking off your cleats or whatever footwear you're wearing, and you're sliding and you're putting your slides on, give your feet a chance to breathe.
Best feeling ever.
However, I'm not a socks in the slides guy. I always took the socks off, but there are people who go socks in the slides. First of all, how do you feel about socks in the slides?
So I don't wear a lot of high socks in general. I know that's more of like a male athlete look.
Yeah.
No, thank you. That's how I feel about it. I don't understand it. I don't know why this is trendy. I know it's convenient, and I am blessed in the sense that I do not have stinky feet. So if I played tennis in college and I played basketball growing up.
Right.
So if I took off my sneakers and my socks and slid into that pillowy cushion of Adidas slide
cloud
amazingness.
foam. Yeah.
my feet didn't stink. So I don't know if that's where this trend, I don't even know if we can call it a trend. It's like a movement.
It's a preference. Some people just like, I mean, look, boys generally do have smelly feet, right? But, I mean, newsflash, guys, we got things called odor eaters and there's sprays and antifungal whatever. So just use that junk, man. Like, so, you know, I'm a proponent of using those things, but there's something about, especially after an athletic competition, whether it's practice or a game, whatever, I want the feet to breathe, so I don't want anything on it so it keeps sweat. I just want air. I want air to come through. And as a youngster growing up, and maybe into my early 20s, I was an Adidas Adissage slides guy, like those with the with the massages at the bottom. And I, you know, some people can't wear them like you're like, oh, because like for some people the bottoms of their feet were too sensitive and they couldn't, like, these hurt. I like the Adissages. They're okay. The cloud foams are great too. Like I can do those, but I there's something about those that I enjoyed. And spending years as a lifeguard as well, always around pool decks and water or whatever. It's like always have the slides on. So slides to me are a wonderful trend, and I'm actually waiting on a pair of slides. Maybe they'll be here in time to show them during this show. I doubt it though. FedEx, where you at?
I would say, we know how you are with FedEx and Adidas. If they think there's Yeezys in that box, they might try to break on in. So I would be careful. I don't know. It's okay, though. I mean, this is my thing about slides, right? Slides are like my house shoes. Oh, I get asked a lot offline, like, oh, what do you wear for your fit? And I'm like, right. I'm clean, and I live with someone who is also way cleaner than I am.
Right.
Not to say that I'm not clean, but she's a bit of a germaphobe. And like the idea and thought of wearing sneakers in the house that have been outside to me from a sanitary perspective, it's not something I do very often. So I've lived in slides at home now. And I'm honestly, I'm surprised that we're not seeing more collabs with slides, more partnerships with slides. And maybe slides are on the uptick. I mean, I see people in them all the time. I live in my Adidas.
Yep. Cloud foams, baby.
White. They're amazing. I've had these for
years,
probably like almost 2 years, and they are still squishy. They're still amazing, and the fact that they're white and they don't look super dirty, shouts to Adidas on that one. You'll never see me with socks in them unless I am caught very off guard in between outfits or something like that. It's not me. I mean, I see people, if I go to like Six Flags, there's a whole bunch of dudes that are rocking their shorts or bathing suits with the high white socks and the slides, and I think a piece of my soul might die a little bit. And like, if that's your bag, do you? I'm not judging you. Right. Like, some people, if you have funky ass feet and you want to cover them up, we appreciate you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for helping us out. But I think
it's just not my style.
You brought up an interesting point though, right? So it is a style thing for many people, right? But here's my thing. If I've got my bathing suit on and my slides, why do I want socks on? I'm about to go in some body of water. Now I got to take socks off, and like, you're adding an extra step unnecessarily, right? Like,
but it's like the guys that we've talked about in earlier episodes, the guys who wear the Air Force Ones and the Jordans to the beach. I know this is something that is indigenous to the people, mostly of Italian descent, in New Jersey. I am very aware that that is a specific look and specific vibe of what I have grown up around. But the socks thing from an extra step doesn't faze me because I'm so used to seeing that. I know some of it is like, oh, my feet get sweaty if they're in slides out in the world, so I'm going to wear socks and absorb that. I don't know.
Absorb the sweat? Yeah, okay.
I think some of it's functionality. If I'm in my house, though, like I said, sneaker sales, as we know, are up. I don't know why more people aren't talking about slides. And like, you've been so great letting me do these fun lives that we do once a month. You guys tune in, send us your topics. They've been a lot of fun. And we had Lady Blogga on last live, and we ended up going over a little bit of the time. Her and I got in this crazy discussion about slides, an extra hour, I'll put it that way. Yep. And, you know, you guys were great and commenting, and I'm surprised, and I said this to her as well, and we talked about this. Where are the collabs? I can't speak. Where are the slide collaborations? There we go. Third time's charm. I think like in my house, I'm wearing slides every day. Unique New York. Mommy made me mash my M&Ms. We have to sing that in choir, guys. That was not just me riffing off the cuff. I do this almost every episode before we start filming, by the way, and Jarod already made me think I'm crazy, but that does not help my cause if I start singing that. So, unique New York.
Unique New York.
But I am surprised, though, that we're not seeing more about slides. And Extra Butter did a really cool collab towards the beginning of quarantine with Adidas with these cable knit slides.
Oh, they are nice.
They're gorgeous. The price point was a little high for me. Some of them are still available, exclusive on Extra Butter. Super dope. They have a cable knit prime knit fabric, which is super cool. They just look
They're saucy. They're saucy. I do wonder about slides, Gabby, because you mentioned something before about wearing them inside the house after being outside, right? And I think, like, that's the thing about slides. If I had these extra butter slides with this cable knit, I kind of want to rock that out a little bit. And it's like, okay, sneakers you wear outside, they also get dirty. But there's something about the slides because your feet are exposed, I guess, more. And they're closer to that, like, if you're in a city like New York, like the dirty pavement and whatever. But then again, I wear, like, rainbow flip-flops outside, right? So it's this strange kind of, like, dichotomy or, like, thing I'm doing in my head about, ooh, I want to rock them because they're dope, but, like, oh, I don't want to get them dirty outside. It's like, the back to my kicks thing. It's just a strange sort of. But $60 slides, these extra butters, that's a lot to spend on slides I only wear in the house. Like, you know what I mean?
I get it, though. I mean, they're also white slides, so for me, wearing that in the city, like, I'm with you. I rock my Havaiana flip-flops if I go flip-flops in the city. I used to do it more when I was younger. Now I'm usually in kicks, maybe a sandal if I'm feeling, like, real saucy, which I'm almost never feeling really saucy lately, especially on quarantine. But if I am, you know, maybe I'll put on a sandal. But I don't know. There's something about wearing slides around. Like, my white slides don't leave the house. I have other colors. Or, like, to your point, I'm a little bit of a hype beast sometimes. You know, I've got my Gucci slides. Just call me Gab Kardashian, you know. But you will never see me wearing them on the streets of Manhattan. I'm like, no, they too fancy for that.
Yeah.
Will I wear them at the Fontainebleau in Miami because I'm like a bougie bee sometimes?
Okay.
Oh, sure. Okay. Absolutely. You know, and you know I'm going to have a bathing suit to match with my
I love it.
My little Fucci.
I love it. I love it. The Fontainebleau in Miami. No, you're right. Or if I'm in Palm Springs or something. Or I will. Yeah.
There's a time and a place. And,
yes.
And I feel that way even with the extra butter, with the white, with the cable knit. It's a vibe. It's a look. Like to me, that's more of an out to dinner slide.
You are correct.
If you want to have it a full fit, that's how I feel about that.
The Adidas Adissage that I mentioned earlier, those, because I mean you get them in multiple colors, black. Those black, I'd rock those around the city because I'm like, all right, they're black, whatever. Like I'm cool, and they're kind of like an all-purpose slide. But I hear you, different slides for different occasions. Speaking of shoes for different occasions, Gabby, I have to tell you something. On a recent episode with Cypher Sounds, Cypher, don't get gassed.
Add it to the tally.
We talked about Yeezys and how you guys are you're like they're so comfortable. Can people run in them? And you guys are like absolutely not. And I'm like no, but I've seen it. Again, Gabby. Recently I was outside. On my run. I of course run in my Nike Air Zoom Structure 21s. Shout out to Nike. And I was like, wait a minute, is this dude running in Yeezys? Yeah, legit running in Yeezys. And I was just like, I couldn't even like. First of all, I'm running, so I was just like, I didn't stop because I'm not gonna stop. My phone's in my armband, so I don't have time to take it out and take pictures. But that whole stretch during my run, I'm just kind of like, that dude was wearing Yeezys and running, and I just it dumbfounded me. But again, the comfort aspect is something you talk about all the time. Like you're on clouds, but I just think shape wise, right? Like they're kind of like boat, right? Like how does that work?
I have a lot of questions. Shocking, I know. Which Yeezys were they? How fast was he running? Like, did he run like Phoebe on Friends? Was it like a full body run where it's flopping around?
No.
Arms flailing.
He had on like wind pants and like a shirt and a headband and looked like he was just like, out there. I mean, he wasn't like sprinting. I would say above a moderate jog. But clearly like out for a run. Had these Yeezys on, and the 350 version 2, perhaps?
Okay.
Yeah. White. I was like, oh okay.
Maybe he bought the ones that I sold on StockX and was like, I need to go for a run. Maybe my other ones are all a little bit beat up.
Maybe he was testing them out, but like it wasn't like, I mean, I was going while he was going, so like I don't know if he stopped like after, because I wasn't like, but I was just like, wait a minute. This dude's wearing Yeezys.
I mean, to each their own. The only time I would run in my 350s is if I'm being chased with a knife or a gun.
Because someone's trying to take your Yeezys.
or that. If someone's trying to take them, then I would run. I mean, I'm not a fast runner anyway. I don't know why I think I need the fancy level of running shoes that I have when I'm in like the 12-minute mile group. Shouts to Grandma Gabby in the back, but Yeezys are very funny to me in general. And again, we were talking about this on the live with Lady Blaga, how she got the Yeezy slides, right?
Oh, yeah.
And she said that they were so uncomfortable that they're basically like you wear them from the car to dinner. And I'm like, if I'm wearing out to dinner shoes, they might have a red bottom on them. That's when I'm wearing my grown-up shoes.
Yeah.
It's like a slide, the purpose is being comfortable. I think a sneaker, the purpose is being comfortable, but that comes into the function versus fashion, right? When it comes to running. And Yeezys, they have that boost technology that is so comfortable. It does feel like you're walking on clouds, but I also don't go running in sweaters. And those shoes feel like you're running in a sweater. And it's like when Adidas came out with the NMD R1s in that prime knit material that was the sock, it was kind of the first of its kind. Like Nike wasn't really doing that at the time. And they were super dope. But they were meant to be a lifestyle shoe, not necessarily a running shoe. And Adidas has evolved that technology really nicely to the boost, the ultra boost.
Right. Which I said before, which are in running shoes.
Which is more of a sock, but it's not in that prime knit material. It's still in like a woven material, but it's not the one that literally feels like you're wearing a cable knit sweater. And that's partly why, for me, Yeezys are so comfortable, but it doesn't provide the same kind of support that a more structured shoe does provide, in my opinion. So this man running in them, either his shoes are too small, he's some kind of super athlete, has money to burn. I mean, like, do you, bro? If that is what makes you happy, like the Kardashians work out in Yeezys all the time, but like they might be married to Yeezy, so
they might be married to Yeezy.
That it doesn't matter. They probably throw them out after each time that they wear the sneakers.
Oh, please!
So.
You know what? That's gonna hurt my heart, and that's a great place to wrap this segment. We will be back because, as we mentioned at the top of the show, it is Gabby's birthday month. It is also the birthday month of the late, great Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba. So we're going to talk about some new drops that were released and what they're all about. Stay tuned. What's up, guys? We are back. And Gabby, it was just recently Mamba Week, and Nike put out a ton of Kobe 5 Protos and new colorways, some new jerseys, really honoring the life and legacy of Kobe Bryant, whom we know tragically passed away earlier this year with his 13-year-old daughter Gianna in a helicopter crash, in California. And I thought that the releases that Nike did for this were so good, and we're gonna go through them now, and we'll get our thoughts on them. So the Kobe 5 shoe, the Proto, I really enjoy that shoe, and a lot of hoopers in the NBA now love that shoe. Devin Booker's talked about it, Durant, a lot of different people. And Kobe was really one of those guys that really was big into the low, right, as a basketball shoe. Because, again, most basketball shoes are high top, right, for ankle support and all those things. And but Kobe really was about that low life. And... No pun intended there. That low top life. There we go. So nobody can cut that up and edit it. But I really like the design of that shoe. It's really, really nice, sleek. And again, a lot of the shoes that we see now, like a lot of KD's early shoes, have a lot of that influence, right? That low top look. And the Kobe 5 Proto Big Stage is the first colorway we saw that Nike released. And there's so much about this shoe. First of all, the shoe, right? It's the 10-year anniversary of Kobe's 5th championship, right? So it's the big stage colorway, and it's got sort of like a tattoo designing when you look at the excuse me, the designing on the side. And I love the black, the white, the gold. It's even though there's a tattoo on the one side, it's such a clean looking shoe. And you know me, I'm about clean looks. I don't like too much muddle stuff. And you would think, oh, Jarod, it's got tattoo design. It's kind of muddled. But it's not, though, because it's all black and white, right? It's all one color. It looks like a design. And then there's the gold swoosh embossed on the one side. On the other side, solid white with the golds. I think I love it. It's a great look.
Yeah, these are my actual favorite from the launches that came out. I mean, I love black and gold, black, white, and gold. These also have a little bit of a nod to the Black History Month collections that Nike and Jordan Brand do with, you know, the black and the white. It's a little bit more edgy. I like the way that they really played with the color here. I mean, this is a sneaker that, and I've said this before, basketball sneakers and tennis sneakers are very similar because of they're both being court sports. And the sole on here, and especially with Kobe's being low, if I was maybe like 5-10 years younger, I would have worn Kobe's to play tennis my entire high school and college career because I love the way the shoe is cut. And Kobe's, when they did the higher top, it was more of that sock style because, to your point, Kobe likes a lower shoe, and I think he really opened up that conversation for players, and there's a reason that they still have the popularity. And the Protro in general, very comfortable shoe. It's got good flexibility, but it's very stable. I love these. Like I said, and I'm not just saying that because they came out on my birthday. And you know how I feel about me and my Mamba mentality. But these were a must cop for me. If I had to pick one pair from the collection, this would be it for me. I think Nike did a really, really great job. And I love the accents. I love the two-tone on the shoe. It's just enough without it being too much. I think they're beautiful.
I also love the Kobe Mamba insignia. I think it's one of the fresher designs that are out there. So I really like this design. The other shoe that came out, again, in that another Kobe 5 Protro design. This one's the 5-time champ, right? Again, honoring his 5 NBA titles that he did win as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. This one is got, if you're a Lakers fan, I have to imagine this is the shoe that you want, right? Because it is purple, right? It is, I mean, it screams Laker. It's got black, gold accents. The insoles, it's got the 5-star graphic print on the inside, which I think is really, really nice. I love the light blue soles and the black accents there. This is, again, the Kobe 5 Protro, that shoe in general is just a very nice shoe. And unless, I think it's really hard, I mean, I guess unless it's a color that's like really ugly, I think it's hard to mess up like any kind of colorway with the shoe. Unless it's like, I don't know, your color is like just, you do something weird, like you put, I don't know, brown and like purple or something, right? Like, all right.
That could be fire if it's the right brown and the right.
Like if you do something real weird, but I think it's really hard to put out colorways with this shoe that is, you know, that's not going to be fresh. And the great thing about this shoe is there was a jacket, if you guys remember when Kobe won his 5 titles, and this shoe borrows theme elements from that 5-time champion jacket, right? And again, Nike, solid. I really like this shoe. If I had to rank them so far of the two, I would go the originals, the first ones, the black and golds, and then these. But I mean, if you are a Laker fan, these are a must cop for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I like these. I think they're a great nod to Kobe and who he was. That's why, and shouts to Nike for doing such a great job with the cadence of the launch this week for Mamba Week. They did a great job with the detailing on the sneakers. Everything is really well thought out. And there's a reason that these came out on Mamba Day because these are the ultimate Mamba mantra. They saluted him and who he was. The one part that I don't love, and I know you like the icy blue sole, not my favorite.
Interesting.
I kind of wish they went either white or black with it. I think everything else is so cohesive and beautiful, and I know that ice blue sole is pretty iconic when it comes to basketball sneakers. I love my Space Jams with the ice blue, so I get it. It's not my favorite. I think that some of the detailing on this shoe is really great. Even the detail on the sole and all the etching with the different prints and the graphics. I think Nike did a really beautiful job with these. And if you're a Laker fan, out of all of them, I think this is a must cop.
Oh, without question. And so Nike, because, you know, we talked about this with Trey and with a bunch of other of our guests in the past. Nike, like, when they get in their bag and just start putting out heat, you're like, damn, son, these are fresh. So Nike, once again, did a collaboration with the Undefeated Stores, which is a sneaker boutique store. And they released the Kobe 5 Protro Undefeated What If pack. And these two shoes, okay. So remember I said, all right, the first two, these two now have moved up in the rank for me, and we'll talk about them individually.
Above the big stage, okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna rank them when I get through them. So everybody remembers Kobe was drafted in 1996, right out of high school. 12 teams famously passed on him before he was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets, and then in a trade sent to the Los Angeles Lakers. The two pairs of shoes in this Nike Undefeated Pack collaboration pay homage to that entire 96 draft, in the sense of one pair of the shoes has the 12 colors, as colors from the 12 teams that passed on him, right? And that is, and if you know anything about Kobe, that is ultimate Kobe shit right there, right? Like, that is the motivation.
So petty and motivation.
You 12 teams thought I was trash? Cool. I got you on this, right? Like, so, and that shoe is, I really like it. It's got red, teal blue, it's got gold. I mean, again, and we can go through the list of all the teams that passed on him. I mean, it's just like, hey, I don't know what you guys were thinking, right? But, you know, to get into basketball for 1 second, that was at a time where drafting a high school player that was Kobe's size might have been a little... It would make a GM nervous, right? If he was 7 foot like Kevin Garnett, okay, I'll rather take that risk. But someone that's 6'6", that's a shooting guard, I'm a little nervous. And so, obviously, the teams that were ahead of that picked ahead of before he went were the Sixers, the Raptors, the Grizzlies, the Bucks, the Timberwolves, the Celtics, the Clippers, the Nets, the Mavericks, the Pacers, the Warriors, the Cavaliers. So all those teams, each one of them, a color is inside that shoe. And I said it's a collaboration with the Undefeated. So the shoe tongue has the Undefeated logo on it, which I love. The back of the shoe as well has the Undefeated logo. It's nice. I really like it. It's really, really fire. Love the soles again. I think it's awesome. The second shoe in that 2-shoe pack, this one is all about the Charlotte Hornets, because they were the team that actually drafted Kobe and then traded his draft rights to the Los Angeles Lakers. That's a solid white shoe. It's got teal, right? Charlotte Hornets color on it. Again, same logo, the Undefeated logo on the tongue, on the back as well. Ice blue sole, the Mamba logo. I mean, that is a fucking clean ass shoe. So right now, if I'm ranking, in the What If pack, the Charlotte Hornets white with the teal, that's number 1. Number 2 are the big stages. Number 3 are the 12 teams, and number 4 is the 5-time champ. That's my 4 ranking right now.
Okay. I mean, I knew that you were going to say the white undefeated Charlotte Hornet inspired kicks are number 1. Jarod, if you are nothing else, you are consistent, and I love you for that. But I'm going to throw you for a loop, because normally I don't mess around with white sneakers.
You don't do that.
But these are fire. And I love undefeated sneakers in general. One of my favorite pair of basic kicks that I have. I mean, basic has a negative connotation. I mean, more staple, uncomplicated sneakers. I have the Chop Shop Adidas from the Undefeated collection that they did a couple years ago. I love it. It's clean lines. The colors are great. The gold swoosh.
Ooh, fire.
It's like making me feel like I won a championship. These are great. And I think that because the ice blue sole on this is a little bit lighter than the 5-time champs, it doesn't bother me. I think it's a nice touch, especially with the white. I mean, I wish for me that these were sold separately, because
you would buy these only instead of the 12 team.
Yeah, I mean, the more I look at these, though, I could fucks with the pack. You know, they're great. I don't know which I would want more of the two, which is probably why Nike did them together. I think it's a great pack. You can't go wrong with either of these. And I agree. I mean, one thing that made Kobe is that he #never forgets. And he's petty like that. So, of course, you have to pay homage to his style, to his Mamba mentality,
no doubt,
to what fueled him, because he knows where he came from.
No doubt.
He went straight from prom with Brandy, a.k.a. Moesha, a.k.a. one of the best shows of the late 90s, early 2000s. Shouts to Netflix for bringing that back. But went straight from prom to, I agree, to maybe not necessarily seeming like the ideal pick. But again, I know we talked about Tom Brady at the top of this episode. Tom Brady wasn't a number 1 pick either. He was a backup player. Same with Aaron Rodgers. Some of the best players are slept on. It's what they do with that fuels them. That talent gets you so far. I mean, you cannot play in the NBA if you don't have talent, but you're never going to be even invited to the GOAT cocktail party, let alone sitting at the table, if you don't have the work ethic that fuels you. I mean, Kobe was there hours before practice, even as the best player on the team. Like, I always wonder if Shaq, and I love Shaq. Shaq was a force. Shaq still is a force on TNT. You rang. But if he had that same mentality, I think that he would have been maybe top 3 of all time if he worked in the way that Kobe worked.
Yeah, and that was at the heart of their disagreement, right? Was Kobe's feeling that Shaq didn't work as hard as he did. Because again, to your point, Kobe would say, if you worked as hard as I did, you'd be the greatest player of all time.
Of all time.
And I just think, again, but that is what separates, right? The truly elite greats, right? And then all on down the line. And Nike, of course, it wouldn't be Kobe if they didn't do a Kobe 5 Protro Girls EYBL shoe, which I really like this shoe a lot. I'm actually kind of jealous. I wish they made it for men's sizes, but I think it's a great shoe. As everyone knows, Kobe was a huge champion of girls and women's basketball. Gigi was a terrific young basketball player. He was a big supporter of the WNBA. I love these because these were inspired by the mythological character Medusa. And everyone knows Kobe was a storyteller in his post-basketball career. Really interesting. I remember Kobe was talking. I asked him one time about animation. This was during Dear Basketball at the Tribeca Film Festival. And he said to me, and I said, Kobe, why animation versus any other form of storytelling? He goes, when you draw the pictures by hand, you can see all the imperfections in the process of making the final product. And that's who that dude was, right? He was such a student of whatever it is that he was getting involved in, right? It wasn't just simply oh, I'm gonna do this thing and then whatever. No. Homie was like, all right, if I'm gonna get into this and figure it out, I'm gonna become the greatest cartoonist of all time. I'm gonna it's just that is how his brain and his mind works. And so he sat down with everybody who does that, artists. How do you do this? I mean, that's a different kind of level of maniacal, but that's what made him such a great basketball player, right? And again, that's what the average person cannot comprehend and sort of wrap their head around, because most of us aren't like that, right? We don't have that kind of discipline and that kind of want to be great. Disciplining and wanting to be great is that's I mean, that is a combination that and that coupled with the talent, well then shit, well of course you're gonna be great, right? And I think that was incredible. And this shoe, I love it. I hope every Nike girls basketball team is out rocking these. I think it's a fantastic shoe. Again, I wish they had some boy sizes, but as we are a show that loves to promote the ladies, I'm happy that this is a girl shoe, and that it wouldn't be Kobe if Nike didn't release a girl shoe.
I agree. I think he had to have a little nod to the Mambacita or herself. And what I love about these two is again, Nike really knocked the details out of the park here. And I think that's something that is a subtle nod to Kobe as well. And I know you touch upon the imperfections in the drawing when he did his animated film. Mm-hmm. That also, appreciating the imperfections, seeing them as an art, is a different level of clarity. And I know at the beginning of quarantine, we talked about The Last Dance. And I think that's where him and Phil Jackson maybe didn't quite see eye to eye, because they had different levels of clarity and self-awareness. Mm-hmm. And I think part of the reason why Kobe was who he was and the player that he was, I think it's taking what you said a step further, right, about wanting to be great, but it's seeing the imperfections, having a level of intelligence and competency to understanding how you can work with that and treating it as a strength and an opportunity instead of a weakness. And that's what I love about the details of these Protro girls, is because when you look at them at first, it looks almost like it's an Oregon Ducks colorway with the dark green and the yellow with a little bit of pop of color. But when you really look at the sneakers, you see the detail on the green. You see the nod. And I mean, Kobe was known for that look, that he would give you the Kobe stare and you'd be frozen in time. So I think this is perfect, where, again, Nike did a really great job with the storytelling around the collection. And this, to me, out of all of the pairs, I love the storytelling here because it's a little bit out of the box. It's a little bit different. And I know it was the last release from the 5 pairs that came out for Mamba Week, but to me, this one's extra special because it's nothing that we've really ever seen in a Kobe before. And again, it goes to the nod of his craft, the details, perfecting the details, looking at everything in a way that it's art.
No doubt.
Right? It's not just a sneaker. It's not just a design. How can I be different? How can I be the best? How can I have all these layers that you don't necessarily know about? I mean, that's what was so great about Kobe the player. He had layers. You know, even in his last games, what did he get? 60 points in his last game? I mean, or one of his last couple games playing? I mean,
last game.
There are layers to his style as a player with his shoes, and shouts to Nike on this one. I think this one's really, really dope.
I love it, and I'm not even gonna rank it because it kind of stands on its own, right? It's its
Agreed.
own. It's a must cop for sure for the ladies and the girls out there. I think it's a wonderful shoe, and with Kobe, what you know is it's about the process of being great, the journey, not the destination. It's not about ultimately being great. It's about he loved the work and the process. And that is what separates truly great athletes, or great anyone great in their craft. So Nike, of course, wrapped it up with they released two jerseys, two Lakers City Edition Black Mamba jerseys, with number 8 and number 24, of course, the two numbers that Kobe wore. The jerseys actually they have faux snakeskin print, which is kind of cool.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, very cool. They have 16 stars in the side panels, of course, representing his number of All-Star bids. And it's, again, if you are a Lakers fan, I mean, you're copping these. I mean, I just know
if you can get your hands on them.
If you can, I mean,
I was gonna say, if you were lucky enough to get your hands on them, that's the hardest part about these. Is
yeah. I mean, now you're probably buying them on the secondary market and paying Lord knows how much money for them. But yeah, I think they were great. Nike already makes jerseys. I think that they're the NBA jersey maker right now. These look really, really cool. And I mean, you pair these with any of the kicks that we just went through, and woo, that's a fire fit right there.
I mean, I agree, and I think the hardest part for me was not whether or not to get this, but was to which number I should go for. To be honest with you, I think both are great, and on Mamba Day this year, I'm going to show you what I wore, because, as you know, I've done some work with the Knicks, I love my Knicks, but, I know prior to what happened at the beginning of this year, people always said no one's bigger than basketball. Kobe is bigger than basketball, and watching the league rally around that chain of events, me and a few of my teammates on the Knicks, I have to show this.
Oh, all right, back up a little bit. Wait. Oh. I like it. See, no, you disappeared. Like you.
Oh, and for my next trick. But yeah, these jerseys are fire. I lean towards number 24. Oh, magic.
There it is. Yep. I see it.
Yeah, you get the idea. But I think with the snake, with the details, again,
it's
Nike knocked it out of the park with the details here. And if you were lucky enough to get your hands on one of these, feel free to send one my way.
Or if you want to spend money in the secondary market, knock yourselves out. But folks, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Kicks and Shit Show. Of course, episodes drop every Monday. You know where to find us: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter @JSHector. You see our social handles right there below you on the screen. We thank you so much for your support, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.